So 2 weeks ago I made a video entitled YouTube Sucking is Just a Symptom of a Bigger Problem, in which I discussed the YouTube algorithm controversy and pulled back a bit and put forth the argument that it was our browsing habits as consumers and desire for an easy way to build a platform as creators that enabled the path YouTube and other large social media platforms have taken in the last few years. Now, in response, I received a lot of comments expressing solidarity in the idea that our browsing habits have changed with the rise of social media, but I also got a pretty common rallying cry from a lot of people: move to vid.me. This idea pops up pretty much every time YouTube does something demonstrably anti-user, that YouTube is the problem and it's time to pack up and support a new platform that promises to be more user-centric in its operation. It's a fantastic idea, one that honestly I support, at least when considered in isolation. The problem, I feel, is that at this point, the chances of any of these sites succeeding are incredibly slim, and perhaps even worse, on the off chance that they do, I see them becoming exactly what we were all running from in the first place. Vid.me is a really promising looking platform. I've poked around there a little bit and I don't really see any issue with it. I think if they can get the monetization thing hammered out, they'll have all the basics in place they need to become a viable alternative to YouTube. Well, all except one thing: traffic. See, we've been down this path dozens of times before. Blip, Vessel, Stage 6, Dailymotion, Vimeo, OpenFilm, and a bunch of others I'm sure I'm missing. Inevitably, they all hit the same roadblock: getting the required eyeballs away from YouTube. And it's this catch-22 that is the downfall of every single one of them. There aren't enough users to make the platform financially worthwhile for creators, and none of the creators are on the site to make it worthwhile for the viewer to visit. They either linger along, serving a tiny niche, as we can see with sites like Vimeo or Dailymotion, or just die out completely and change their entire business model like OpenFilm, Stage 6, Blip, and others. This makes going all in on sites like this a massive risk, especially if you're just starting to build your brand. You could do well on here for a year or two, then it just shuts down due to lack of profitability and you're left with nothing. Even established sites aren't immune to this. Just recently, Vine got the old Yeller treatment for not being profitable enough for parent company Twitter. And just like that, your entire presence on that site and the audience you've built evaporates, and you're left to scramble and try and pick up the pieces. Now, the situation is getting more dire as YouTube continues to piss off its creators and be completely unreceptive to their complaints, to the point that, with vid.me, it's getting more attention than any of these other sites have before. We have big names trying to use both platforms right now. I think it's safe to say vid.me has had more success luring YouTubers over than anything besides Vessel, just due to the discourse surrounding YouTube at the moment. But getting creators is only half the battle. Since content is still being made for YouTube as well, where is the incentive for the viewer to make the switch? Right now, it doesn't exist, and that's a big problem that vid.me is going to have to find a way to rectify if it wants a future at all. And if a site like vid.me does beat the odds and get the traffic and users they need to become a threat to YouTube's dominance, wouldn't they also be large enough to attract all the corporate influence that we've been demonizing YouTube for pandering to now? As distasteful as this practice is, corporatism, to me, is seemingly just a side effect of scale. Despite being started by a small group of people with the best of intentions, once a social network starts to grow to the size of something like a YouTube or a Twitter, you have to grow your staff and bring in more capital to cover the operating costs, and that means becoming an actual business. I can't even imagine the raw dollar value attached to hosting the amount of videos that YouTube does. You end up needing to organize, think, and make decisions like a business because, like it or not, that's what you've become. These sites are dealing with financial figures we can't even fathom, and as a result, interests that align with business, not art, inevitably come into the fold, assumedly out of necessity just as much as good old-fashioned greed. Advertisers don't only pay us on YouTube, the creators, they pay Google as well, so they're the ones with the most leverage in this equation. The problem then becomes that if we want something like vid.me to be the new YouTube or gab.ai to be the new Twitter, we want to put them in the exact same position that YouTube and Twitter are in now and somehow expect them to make different decisions. And while there is certainly some wiggle room in there for some of the more minor points of contention, again, it's the advertisers, the ones who are paying everyone, that have all the power, so it's their will that inevitably comes first. Otherwise, YouTube can't make any money, and consequently neither can we, and then the entire site crumbles, like we've seen dozens of times before in cases like Blip. Maybe these new sites will buck the trend somehow. I'd love to be proven wrong here, but all the social media platforms we have now started out the same way vid.me, minds.com, and gab.ai are currently. It was their explosive growth and rising costs that either forced them to go corporate or be bought out by existing companies. To close this out, I want to address a comment left by Hunter Niff Art. They said, while it would be a great thing to have a platform that fairly rewards creative content which takes a long time to make, what about the people who enjoy YouTube for what it is? A convenient platform that delivers non-stop entertainment custom tailored to their individual tastes completely free of charge. Is their enjoyment of this system a problem? The truth of the matter is that no, it's not a problem. Nobody who enjoys this system is doing anything wrong. For the majority of people who use these social networks, these systems are serving their needs pretty well, which is exactly why Google, Twitter, and all the rest put them into place to begin with. And as creators, despite our desire for reform, we can't single-handedly change the browsing habits of the entire internet. The harsh reality is that as a content creator going into 2017, we can't escape social media at this point. It's ubiquitous. So, is there nothing we can do? Well, actually, I think there is. There's one overlooked platform that can solve a lot of these pain points, and we'll be taking a look at that next week in part 3.
If you thought this video sucked, you probably already said your piece, but if you liked it, hit that subscribe button and join the rebellion. Every week I make videos looking at affordable hardware and software for indie creatives, and vlogs covering the highs and lows of my personal creative journey. So, until next time, I'm Tom Oliver, this is RoboPixels reminding you guys we might be indie, that doesn't mean that we're alone.